All right, this shiur is dedicated, first of all, to Refuah Shlema of Chana Aliza Bat Shendel Nechama, Chaim Israel Halevi Ben Batya, Shimona Natana Bat Chana, and also Leilui Nishmat Lehavdil, Leilui Nishmat Bilha Bat Belo, Moshe HaKohen Ben Shemira. So, which parasha are we in, Idan? Beshalach. So many things that, and so many commentators said so much about this parasha that I tell the truth, I don't really feel like repeating everything everybody said. I mean, I'm sure you heard it a million times. I'm going to take a little different avenue today, as usual. And I want to start with a question to ask you. Why do you get up in the morning every day? And why do you go to work? Most people get up in the morning, they go to work. Yeah, I mean, most people don't even think about, why am I doing this? I remember when I was a kid, I would say 11, 12. Yeah, I remember, I was 11 years old. It was during the Yom Kippur War. And we couldn't live in a house. We were living by my godparents, which were like amazing people. And every day I had to take a bus. It was a long ride to be in school. I used to leave the house 6:30 in the morning to be in school, at 8 o'clock. And I would look at the people on the bus and did it for almost like a year. You get to see that the same people go on the bus almost every day and they get off at the same thing. And I just said to myself, I don't know, it can't be. It can't be. This is not what I came to this world. It can't be. I don't want to be a part of this. Not that I didn't want to work. Not that I didn't want to be, to make money. But I didn't want to do that. How many people actually ask themselves, why am I doing this? And I think the main reason is because people don't create a superior target in which that's what they want to do. They're just going, step after step, day after day, year after year, decade after decade, and so on and so forth. Do we have to survive? We came here to survive. We came here simply to live life and wait until we die. Or maybe there's something greater than that. Something that is more noble than that. What are we here for? Why are we doing what we're doing? So, for example, if you have a goal, you have a target, you could say, for example, I want to give my kids more stuff. I want to provide my kids with more. I want to provide with my spouse with more. But do you really make sure that your career is going to correspond with the goal and the objectives in which you set to yourself, and not on account of other goals and objectives that you have, that's the reason why you really went to work? Many times you say, okay, I would like to provide my kids with a better life, and you go to work, but then work becomes the reason why you live, and you forgot about everything else. How do you manage that? How you don't fall? What do you do not to fall into this trap? So this is a question that I believe that every person really needs to ask himself. And throughout your career or whatever it is that you do, you need to really ask yourself. Many times you see a person that really, not many times should I say, actually not so often, you see a person that could have gotten the promotion and really understood that the meaning of that promotion would really affect the quality that he has with his kids, because that was his main objective, And he says, you know what? I'm going to look for a different position, for a different job that is going to be less glamorous, with less money, much more relaxed, but with more time at home. How many people do you know that will do that? How many people do you know will justify to sacrifice the time that they have with the kids because I want to provide the kids with more stuff? But if you're going to ask your kid one day, what would he rather more, later on he will tell you, well, I would rather if you'll be home with me instead of telling me that you really care about me and never spend a minute with me. And when I actually came to do something, you were too tired to even talk to me. Needless to say, kids in the cradle, right? It's horrific what we're doing. Or whether it's to spend more time with your wife, you want to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to retire, I'm going to spend more time together. Then you find something else to do, that you go somewhere and bichlal, you don't even spend time with them, or whatever it is. It's mind-boggling, this whole concept, this whole trap that we put ourselves in, and I call it the busy trap. We make ourselves so busy, but it's a trap. You trap yourself with being overly busy. I'm not saying be, a bum and sit there and smoke pot like everybody else in the street nowadays. Or like some Google worker or something like that. All they do is they eat bars, they go to the conference room, they have some espresso, and then they play some computer games, and then they go home, and then they wonder why they got fired. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, but you would not be able to really have any kind of a superior objective or top objective if you haven't sat down and said, what do you want out of life? And believe me, many people don't encourage their children to really ask themselves, what do you want out of life? Most people, because they feel of such failures, they try to relive their lives or to relive their missed opportunities to their children. And then they make the kids into miserable kids. That is something that we learn from this week's Parashat. So that focal point, Bala Akedah, of Rabbi Yitzchak Arama, in his Perush for Parashat HaShavua, he touches that point. And he says the following: the man comes from heavens, right? Thank you, Motek. Which is a spiritual food. They ate man, but it was really spiritual food. It was what they call the bread of angels, the food of angels, right? As it says in Sefer Tehillim, Psalms, what?
112.
223, there's no 223.
23?
No.
112.
Wrong. Ein Chet. Ein Chet will be?
89. 88.
88. Verse?
78.
Verse? 78, yeah. Verse?
Gimel. Yud Gimel.
No. Chav Gimel. Chav Hey. Chav Hey. Sit down, buddy. Come from here. Take something to eat. And then just come here. So it says it says Lechem Abirim Achal Ish. Lechem Abirim Achal Ish. Come this way. Lechem Abirim. Oh, you want to sit over there? Can you sit over there? Lechem Abirim Achal Ish. I didn't see a chair there. So therefore, this man is the food that Bnei Israel ate in the Midbar for 40 years. 40 years they ate that, and we all know what happened. Those people used to go to gather the man in the morning, right? They used to go every single morning to go gather the man, and during this whole period of time, of course, it was quite evident, quite clear that it doesn't make a difference how much you gathered and how much you stored. At the end, you come home with the same amount, whatever you needed to have. It was determined to you to have it. So in the desert, there was no sign of food. I mean, you can't grow anything like this. And therefore, Bnei Israel, each one, as we said, got his own prescribed portion that was designated to him. And as soon as they ate it, that's it. It's done. There's no more food. You ate it, that's it. No leftovers, no nothing. It's gone. Because it says, the pasuk says, ish lefi ochlo lakatu. According to what you eat, that's how much you're going to harvest. You couldn't harvest more. And it says, ish al yutar mimeno ad boker. You can't leave it until the morning, that's it. There's no leftover. We're going to have leftovers for tomorrow from what we made today. No such thing. And every day you had to wait for the next day to see what's going to happen in order to get your food. And of course there was no weatherman to tell you there is a man coming on the way, or some guy tells you, there's some man stuck on the turnpike coming down the way, or there is a high front of man arriving from Canada. It's going to be a northeaster of man. There was no such thing. There was no, and if a person would have a child, that day he will get more. That's it, the end of the story. And you don't see any signs, and you need to still feed your kids. And every day, because of that, they would look up to the heavens, they would look to Shamayim, and so the man will come, and every single day, the man came, and the whole thing came over and over again, and that taught him to have emunah. That taught him to have emunah. And that took 40 years to implant that emunah into Am Yisrael, because it was not just for them. That is an emunah that really was implanted in the Jewish DNA for generations, in all situations, in all circumstances. And the message to Am Yisrael was quite clear. It says, one day, you're going to enter the land. This fantasy or this situation is going to end. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, 40 years, and then it's going to be it. Then you're going to enter. So one day you're going to enter the land, and you're going to have to do some work there. You will have to plant and harvest and trade and barter and so on and so forth. And that work that you're going to do is going to give you some money, but you need to remember one thing, and that's something you remember, that it took 40 years to train you that, to really acquire that habit. And you need to remember that it doesn't make a difference how hard you work. At the end of the day, you're always going to come home to your family. You're going to come home to the reasons in what you went to work for. And if you're going to work also too much, you're going to realize, or maybe find out one day, that all these virtues and values and these targets and the goals and objectives that you set to yourself are going to be gone. They're not going to be there anymore. So on that says the Baal Shem Tov, he says that a poor person merited something that a rich person did not merit. And what did he merit? He merited the zchut, the right, to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every single day. Why? Because the rich person got, won the Mega Millions or whatever Powerball, whatever he played. He got his load of money, and he really does not have this need to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day, please, Ribono Shel Olam, and so on and so forth. Now, the Gemara is full of ideas like this, when it says, Lo matzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'am Yisrael midat tova ela aniyut. He made them like this, always, they have to struggle. So many different things like that, so many different examples in terms of that. If a person, the Gemara says, if a person sees that he all of a sudden got a lot of money, he should be concerned. And we know the story, of course, with the Nachash and the whole story over there. So, a rich person is not going to ask mezonot from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore, the way we look at it is like, oh man, he's lucky. But really, Lemaisa, the Ani is lucky. Why? Because he speaks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every single day, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs to remember him every single day. And because of that, the ani is mitchazek be'emunato. The ani becomes Baal Emunah. And you see it many times. It's, again, as the Torah says, Vayishman Yeshurun Vayvat. When Am Yisrael gets a little bit on the chunky side, everything's going their way. They have money in the bank, everything is flowing. The first thing they forget is God. Vayvat, they kicked it out. Somebody gets a little sick, they heal him, please say Tehillim, bid mitpalel. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, you're not going to understand it this way. So twist your things. But a person should really be concerned. He says, oh my goodness, I have all this money, or I have, I'm missing out on this ability to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the bottom of my heart. So the ani is zoched, and that's the Baal Shem Tov said that this is the Ikar the Emunah, and not for nothing, it says, Izaru bebnei aniyim shemehem tetzeh Torah, because the Emunah is dependent on that. And you need the daily interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu to ask Him to please, don't forget me. And it's not something to take for granted. I mean, we take it for granted. We had so many brachot that Chachamim were metaken, levarech al hatov, and to do this, and we see all this brachot as an obstacle. It's something that it stays in our way. Come on, just give me the food I want to eat. That's what the brachat. You know what? I'm not going to eat bread. Because why? Why don't you eat bread? Bread is good. Say birkat hamazon. Be'emet, because you don't want to say birkat hamazon, you're not going to eat bread. What is wrong with you? How long is to say birkat hamazon? 3 minutes? How long? How much time do you spend on YouTube? 30 hours a day, if possible. Right there. No, right, Sammy? Okay, so that's something that you got to remember. You have to be very careful. So in this parasha, also, so this is all connected, because in this parasha also Bnei Israel received the Shabbat. And Chazal tells us it's one of the most significant things about Shabbat is the fact that if it was up to us, we wouldn't, but we have to stop to be mishtadel and parnasa. You have to worry, you don't talk about your business, you don't look at your stock market and so on and so forth. And a person that, he's a businessman, and all of a sudden, comes Shabbat, everything has to stop. It has to stop, completely stop. And he needs to really have the attitude, as it says, Kol melachto na'asta. That's it. Everything that I need to do was done. Now I'm sitting down and I'm giving. So in a way, it's coming back to the time of the Midbar and the Man. When you know that you need to, it all depends on Shamayim. During the week, you think that it's all because of yourself. It's kochi ve'otzem yadi. We all know how to say, Mirosh Hashanah, Datzeret, Kol Adam Nizon, Kol Mezenotav Shel Adam Nidonim, and so we all know that, but do we really believe that? Do we? And if with the money that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, do we do the right thing? Do we? Do we feel entitled for the money? So let's say HaKadosh Baruch Hu made you very, very happy and very, very wealthy. Baruch Hashem, Hodu Lashem Kitov Ki L'Olam Chasdo. Why do you think that you could fly, first class Amoritos to Dubai? Why? Why? Because you feel entitled? How much would it cost you to fly first class? I really have no idea, but I'm sure it's a lot of money.
$30,000.
$30,000.
For one flight?
I'm sorry?
One flight?
One flight. First class. So you go with your missus, that's $60,000. You know what you could do for $60,000 for you know what? You'd give your ticket and your wife's ticket's worth to to two different families that are poor, give them each $30,000 extra for this year. Ribono Shel Olam, you're making all the difference to these people. And you feel entitled to go, so it's not only about your emunah, it's also do you realize that actually HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to you, do you do the right thing with that? He gave it to you, look at this as HaKadosh Baruch Hu trusts you that you will do the right thing, because you're a good businessman, you'll do the right thing with the money. What do? You fly overseas with first class, why? Again, what is that to see in Dubai? Beat me, I don't really know. Sand, buildings. Don't understand. But did you see ever the face of a family that really don't know how they're going to finish the month? And all of a sudden, $30,000 in Israel will be almost like 180,000 shekels. No, what am I talking? I'm sorry. It's going to be 90,000 shekels. Okay, close between 90 and 100, okay? You know what would it do to a poor family in Yerushalayim, in Tzfat? That you all of a sudden says, guys, here's 100,000 shekels. They would not know what hit them. It's like crazy. And you spend it on yourself, and you don't go once a year. Hey! Why is the sense of entitlement that we have? You want to have a car? Drive a Hyundai. Why do you have to drive a Maybach? B'shvil ma? It's all, in a way, certain aspects of choser emunah. I'm sorry. So, a person like this, on Shabbat, is not even allowed even to think about his business. But even if somebody will come and says, oh, you know what, if I don't do this business, this is going to be the deal of my life. And if I'm going to, nobody's going to, how many people will be tempted to actually, listen, Rabbi, is there a loophole I can do about it? I think that if there's something that we should really, okay, if a person wants to tell me, listen, Rabbi, I want it to be, to move to the next stage. I want to enhance my emunah. I want to enhance myself. What should I be doing? I'm going to tell you, stop looking for loopholes. We stop looking for loopholes. Do what the din says. No loopholes. Asur, asur. Mutar, mutar. No loopholes. No, well, maybe this shita lekula, this shita lezeh, maybe like this. No loopholes. Let's start with that. All these things are signs that, I'm not really committed. So, but something like this, Abotai, it's not pashut to just let go and to live life like this. It's not let go. We really think that we'll do extra. And it's us that are doing it, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing that. And then we forget, because of that, the Shabbat is Mekor HaParnasah. And we forget that because of that, because we need to let go, Shabbat is also the source of your emunah. Because if you let go of everything on Shabbat, you are really showing emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're almost creating within yourself a situation of like ochlei aman. And we say, lo nitna Torah ela ochlei aman. You cannot, the same thing, leave everything alone and then sit down and learn Torah, even if it's for a year or 2 years. Right away, you come to me and you say, well, everybody my age is doing this. Everybody in your age also does a lot of crazy things. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Where's your emunah? How are you going to live your life? What are you going to tell your children? What example are you going to give? What purpose do you have in life? And that all comes from what we started. We haven't defined goals and objective, real goals and objective of what is important to us in our lives. And, we all know that depends on how you behave in Shabbat. This is how your mazal is going to be in the rest of the week. If chas v'shalom, you're going to do some chas v'shalom avera on Shabbat, since Shabbat is mekor kol habrachot, so your whole entire week, chas v'shalom, will be filled with chataim, and the other way around. The same thing as we say, well, and it's a sign, it's symbolism, but people should not sleep on Rosh Hashanah. Was we used to call it mazal durmiendo in Spanish. Mazal, durmiendo yoshen, mazal shelcha yeh yoshen. Mazal durmiendo. אותו דבר בשבת. And still, Rabbi, is it really means that I cannot sleep on Rosh Hashanah? תעשה מה שאתה רוצה, חביבי. It's not mutar or asur, it's what's the attitude behind it. The attitude behind the way you do things is sometimes more important than actually doing that, is how you approach it. It's how you approach it. And we should really do it like we say, on your words, Hashem, it's like I'm taking here great bounty. I'm not trying to, if I will give you a box full of a chest full of gold coins, you're going to say, excuse me, is there more? Or nobody's going to come and say, can I take just half of it? It's too much for me. On the Torah, it's like, that's a little too much. I'm not ready for this. If somebody gives you a chest full of gold coins, say, excuse me, that's too much. Can I get silver instead of copper? I'm not ready for this yet. But I'm not ready for this. Right? When it comes to Dvar Avera, nobody ever says, I'm not ready for it. I need to grow. Yeah, right away, I need Aluf Alufim, champion, I'm the best. So, and so therefore to let go on Shabbat, and to let go and understand that really your parnasa is dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that takes a lot of emunah. To leave everything and really connect yourself to something spiritual, something greater than that. Knowing internally that dafka, specifically the exiting from this world, brings the biggest bracha of your life. Not being, full of yourself, but rather full of Hashem. That's what brings the bracha to your life. And it doesn't make a difference which, whatever you're going to, how you're going to find it, but you should know that there is a way that you should be able to combine work. Nobody is asking anybody to sit down and be a batlan and don't do anything. It's not good. People need to work. You need to work. What and how, that's up to you. When we say Adam la'amal yulad, okay, la'amal, which work? There's גם עמלים ואנו עמלים, right? יכול להיות עמל בתורה גם כן. But to sit at home all day long, and that is exactly what is happening in our days today. When we have this bombardment all the time, to be this constant noise and chatter in our lives all the time, with all the media and all the social networking and so on and so forth, not to think, but because of that, to become vulnerable, to lose control. Person needs to go to work, but it doesn't mean that you should give up on your family, on your hobbies, on your friends. You could be able to balance between values and virtues to profits, to be able to, it shouldn't be one over the other. But it's very important for you not to forget what is your main objective and what is the reason why you did all the thing, and never move out of it. Don't lose that objective. And that is going to be like your golden rule. You can't lose sight of what was your main objective, why you started this journey to begin with. And if you haven't asked yourself, why am I doing this for? Well, you need to stop immediately and take time for yourself and sit down and say, what is my objective? Where I want to go with this life? Is my life worth to be called life altogether? And being in this race in life and chasing after gold and money and so on and so forth, it's not always easy to remember that. And sometimes we want to devour the world and leave, as they said, leave dust behind us, leave everybody behind us, and so on and so forth. But it's always good to remember where you came from and why you left the place that you left, and why are you doing what you're doing. And you need to also make sure that you have a good, warm place to come back to. If we don't do things, I mean, if you think about, let's say, people in my age. If my great-grandkids want to see how I look, and if they want to see how my great-grandparents look, well, they can. It's no problem. They're pictures. But if your grandkids want to see how you look, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to. With all this involvement in our complete surrender to the world outside, we have a great need because we feel lost to say, hey, I'm here. And that's why people talk all the time on Twitter and all this chatting and this chat and this group chat and this tweet and that. And it doesn't make a difference if you work in sanitation department or you president of the United States. Everybody likes to tweet. You want to be remembered? You want to show something of your life? You want to show some kind of the music of your life? Well, leave things behind you. Monuments that you did in terms of chesed, write a sefer, write a book, just even not a sefer, write a regular book. Leave something behind. And you know that, you always have a place to come. Because people come home and they never feel at home. They come to the house, but they never feel home. And they feel lonely. And they don't have friends. And they don't have support systems. And they don't have wives. I mean, they have, but not really. Reminds me of a joke of this guy told his wife, both of them sitting watching TV. He was watching his TV. She was watching her TV on a computer, whatever it is. So he tells his wife, honey, can you do me a favor? Can you go get me a beer? And she says, no, I'm busy right now. It's something, I'm watching the show. I'm in the middle of the show and so on and so forth. As she's saying that, all of a sudden she hears the telephone from the kitchen. Her telephone ringing in the kitchen. So she runs to the kitchen. She sees a message from her husband. Says, well, honey, since you're in the kitchen, can you give me a beer now? And then he says, well, doctor, that's all I remember. After that, I don't remember anything. But, do you know what you want your house, your home to be? And I'm not talking about the size of the tiles on the floor and this and that. I'm not talking about this. Do you know what kind of energy do you want to have at home? Did you ever imagine that? What do you want to have the interaction between you and your wife, between you and your kids, between you and your friend? Do you have any friends? You never did, and never, therefore, strived to it. And we always say, well, Rabbi, I can't learn because I'm busy. And I keep telling you time and time again, every single day has exactly 24 hours. Exactly 24 hours. And the days in Tisha B'Av, that seems like forever, it goes very, very slow, is the same 24 hours on the shortest day on Tevet. Just divided separate days and night, but it's the same 24 hours. Sit down, arrange your day, control your time, control your space, control your life, allocate time for this, for that, for this, for that. Dedicate a tam zman kavua in which you're going to learn. Because you have to learn. You can't say, I'm too busy to learn. You need to help your wife go to Costco. Say, honey, I have exactly this time to go to Costco. I can't skip learning. If you want, here's the credit card. Go. But you need to be learning. You wanna guarantee that your children and your grandchildren will be bnei emunah. Well, you need to conduct your life with emunah as well. And that means the same attitude as the man. You need to learn the lesson. People always go for the job that will give them the most money, but not the most quality time with their lives. Guys, time flies. We are, 2 months from Pesach. 2 months from Pesach. You make jokes about me when I told you that in Chanukah, and Chanukah is long gone and forgotten. We're 2 months from Chanukah. Turn your head 50 days from Shavuot, from Chanukah. Turn your head, right? Ben Adam Ma'ata Nirdam. Yalla, slichot od pam. Time flies. Whether you do something with your life or you don't do anything with your life. Time flies. Your children grow, you get older, you better take advantage of things that are in front of you now. And in order to be able to do so, you need to define exactly what you want. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu created this thing. He put them in the desert to get rid of the old habits, acquire them with good habits, and designated a goal and objective. You're going to enter the land. But you cannot enter the land unless you have, first of all, the good habits to actually manage it appropriately. Your promised land is the future, the life ahead of you. You need to make sure that now you're acquiring the good habits. And that's exactly what Baal HaKedah of Yitzchak Arama was pointing on to. So I really hope that you'll take it into heart and you really get a grip over your head or your days and get a grip of your schedule. And you need to set goals and objectives which are going to be short-term, long-term, and medium-range goals. And you need to pursue them. Otherwise, life will pass and you're still going to be in the same place that you are right now, which is basically nowhere. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.